I'm so excited to have Dr. Jess Smith on the podcast. Look at us with our bellies.
Pregnant belly.
There's doctors and doctors. And what you do is you just ooze calm, empower parents, and make us feel like we are in charge of our child's health journey.
Well, you should be.
You empower us to decide on the path or think through what we want to achieve ourselves. And I find that such an admirable approach as a doctor. I'm keen to learn more, and I'm sure a lot of people that will listen to this are keen to learn more.
Thank you, Jules. I think so much of that is just actually stemmed from my own journey through medicine and then parenthood myself. I think this is true with any kind of dynamic with a doctor, with any patient, not just with children, but you have to feel seen and heard.
Yes.
And when you're dealing with a child or a baby, they can't tell you what they need to say. And so you have to listen not only to what's going on with the kid's body, but also actually the parent. Dealing with the whole dynamic of the whole families. And even often you will see such differences between the parents. So a lot of what I do is navigate the space between the family dynamic and figure out how can you make parents feel empowered to understand and also to feel a little bit more intuitive with their own children, because there is just too much information in the world, and social media and podcasts and access to information is probably more than it's ever been. And the tricky part is that not all of it is good information, and it's very extremist, the health and wellness space. It's like you're either completely standard Western medicine or you're completely in the opposite direction, wellness space. And there's such a vast area in between. And majority of us fit somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and they don't have to be either or.
It doesn't have to. It's got to be something that you're comfortable with. Each family will have their own set of ideals and their own intuitive sense of what they want for their bodies and their baby's body. You have to listen to that.
How do you learn to tap into intuition and feel confident in that you're doing the right thing?
I think the biggest thing is about making sure people feel empowered, because when you do feel like you're making a decision from a place of good knowledge, it's much easier to trust your instinct with it. And that's also where the information overload comes in, or when people are too extreme, that it's almost this pressurized kind of information or this dogmatic
You
messaging.
have to follow this.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that, I feel like, it turns people's intuition off first, but secondly, it makes it difficult then to have deep knowledge in things because you're afraid to ask questions.
True.
Instead of asking the questions to the correct people and speaking to the doctor about it, if you have concerns, you then start critiquing or questioning yourself. And I think that's a problem, because nobody knows what you're doing the first time. I can remember with my firstborn, so this will be my third baby, and my firstborn, I was so egotistical about it. I was like, I know everything about babies.
I'm a pediatrician.
I had worked in the NICU for 6 years at that stage. I thought, no, I've got it. Like, I know what to do with babies. Little did I know that I knew very little about normal babies. I knew so much about sick children. And I had pathologized everything, that when I had a completely normal, healthy, well baby, it was very overwhelming. So I think none of us really know what we're doing. And that transition into matrescence, or even parenthood for dad, it is such a dramatic shift. And because it is this whole new space that you're moving into, you don't know what you're doing because you've never been that person before. You've never done this experience before. And so I always say to parents, nobody knows your baby the way that you do. So you have to learn to tap into that intuition. You're going to have the most information about them.
Exactly.
Yeah, most feedback.
So it's about information, as in the access to connecting dots, and then maybe also learning how to read patterns of your own baby. What's normal for my baby? What do they like? Do they not like? What do they react to?
Many parents do seek out information when they're pregnant, before the baby even arrives, and they go to antenatal classes. And what do you learn? How to bath a baby.
Yeah, literally.
How to put a nappy on. Like,
that's never going to be the problem.
Those are the things that you can quite easily figure out along the way.
Yeah.
What you should be learning is, what do normal newborns sound like? What are the noises that they make? They make crazy noises, right? Especially from 6 weeks. And then everyone's like, but they were quiet and calm, and now they're grunting and snorting, and something must be wrong with them. So I think understanding the physiology of what's going on in their babies at those different times, especially for those first 6 months, if you know that it's coming,
it feels less scary. Exactly.
Totally.
So that you know that it's coming is a good hook to chat about being hyperfixated on milestones.
Yeah.
How do you feel about milestones, and how can it be beneficial and putting people at ease rather than freaking them out?
So Jules, how old were you when you said your first word, and what was it? And when did you call? And when did you walk?
No idea.
Exactly, that's the point, right? Is that we all eventually do it.
Yeah, and no one wears a nappy
The amount
aged
of-
18 either.
Exactly, and the
Okay.
amount of people that don't fall within the norm is rare. Of course it does happen, and I
Yeah.
think, again, because we have so much information, we hyperfixate on what could go wrong, what is wrong, not understanding that actually that is not the norm, that
Okay.
is the minority of
Yeah.
children. And also, just to say that the range of normal of all of our milestones is wide. Another thing that links with that parents get very stressed about are the growth charts, because it's just this linear trajectory.
Yeah.
We fixate on numbers and we fixate on dates and times a little bit too much, I think, instead of looking at your child and saying, well, they might not be crawling right now, but they're doing this or they're doing that.
Yeah.
We've got 4 main areas of development. We have our gross motor skills, so that's kind of the one everyone knows about. The sitting, rolling, walking, the big things, big physical things.
Yeah.
Then we have our fine motor skills, which is like the small little intricate things that we're doing, hand-eye coordination. Obviously these things come a little bit later, but holding a pencil, making little blocks, pages, that kind of stuff. Then we have our language development, which is twofold, because it's both our receptive language, so receiving language and hearing things, and then
understanding.
our expressive language, and understanding, and then expressive language,
yeah.
which is the babbling and the mum. And then we have our personal development area, which is like you mentioned, potty training, those kind of things. And so some kids will focus more on one area than the other at a time.
Yeah.
They'll come back to the other. You can't compare. It does highlight the importance of doing the well baby checks at those certain periods, because those are always those opportunities to screen for all of that.
Yeah.
And to check that, are you within the healthy range for different things?
That's very helpful. But that's you and an appointment, and we go there and it's a moment in time, it's a snapshot, and we see, are we falling within a healthy range? But I think what I see a lot, and that's maybe a social media exacerbated thing, is comparison.
Yeah.
And that creates an enormous amount of anxiety.
I think we all kind of know this, even for ourselves, that comparison is the killer of all joy.
100%.
It literally just removes all your joy. There is a show called Bluey, anyway, and they've got this Bluey book, and it's literally called Run Your Own Race. And the whole story is actually about the moms having a baby race of the one's crawling, no, now the one's going to walk before the other one crawls, and going through this whole thing. And then it comes back full circle, and the mom's basically trying to teach her daughters, run your own race. We don't have to all be winning certain things
at the same time.
You do it in your timing.
Good.
And I think that's something that actually the parents need to learn, because the kid's totally fine most of the time.
And the kid's also not worried because they're not comparing at
They don't care if
age
their
of
little
whatever.
friend is,
Yeah.
your friend's child is crawling. But again, tapping into that intuition. So there's a level of, I think, sort of normal parental anxiety around these things. And then there's a level where it is like, oh gosh, actually maybe there is something wrong.
Okay.
And if you are feeling that, and you are feeling like genuinely something feels off, why is my kid not doing this?
Yeah.
Then again, check it out. It's okay.
There are, of course, signs or telltales that you shouldn't be ignoring.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So check-ins, data, not comparing for the sake of wanting to be ahead.
Yes. Really understanding that there's no benefit to doing these things faster. There really isn't. You know, the natural development of these stages happens as it should, and doing it faster doesn't mean your kid's got more IQ, it just means they did it faster. And in fact, sometimes we don't like them to do things too quick. For example, if they skip crawling and go straight to walking and they're early walkers, that's actually detrimental.
Can you explain why?
The American Academy of Pediatrics took crawling out of their milestone list a couple of years ago. And there was a big outroar about it, because everyone was like, why? Crawling is actually really important.
Isn't it for your core?
For your core strength, for the development of your pelvic girdle and your shoulder strength, but also coordination. It's really important. There's some cool studies that show that this is so weird, but the longer you crawl for, the better you are at maths.
Oh, amazing.
So
Louis only
it's
walked at
just-
14 months. He was crawling
Which
for a
is
long
perfect,
time.
because average is 14 to 16 months. So he was actually perfectly on time.
Cool.
You know, there are kids who walk at 12 months, but that's not the norm. These kids who jump up and start walking early on, the parents celebrate, but actually that kid, 4 years down the line, is probably going to need some OT or some physiotherapy, because they haven't developed the proper core strength to be able to sit upright at school and hold their
Wow.
body space up.
So you celebrate something that then later you have to fix. Speaking of parents and the dynamic, you said something before, which was navigating the space when a baby can't speak yet. You're obviously relying heavily on the parents, and it can be very different for mom and dad. What role does that play, and what do you see in your practice? How can couples be supported in this journey?
Part of my love of teaching is trying to allow parents to have their opinions, but understand where they're coming from, so that you can find a bridgeway between the two parents, especially when it's quite extreme opinions. Do we sleep train? Do we not sleep train? Where there isn't really a middle ground. So remember, every decision we make in our parenting journey is led by our own experience. My husband and I had very different upbringings, and that puts some pre-programming into you.
Yes.
That when you're in these scenarios, especially when you're also sleep deprived and exhausted, and you revert to your programming. So it is going to be different for each person.
What you feel familiar with, also how you were raised, might show in the weaker or more sleep deprived moments. And it will show unfiltered probably, rather than I've read this many books and I've educated myself and this is how we're going to do it. And then you're in the moment and you're like, out
Back
the
to
window.
the programming, exactly.
Interesting.
That's what makes us human, right?
Yeah. What's advice that you can share that has helped many parents in your career?
The most common things that parents really struggle with, it's the lack of a village and support.
Okay.
Because when a parent feels supported, they can make good decisions. When they can't and they're not supported and they don't have enough sleep and they don't have enough capacity for themselves, it does make all of those decisions so much harder. So I'd like to normalize the struggle first and be like, this is so normal that you're feeling this way, because it is. If you think about from the length of time that human beings have existed, 97% of that existence was in a hunter-gatherer style. Only 3% is this kind of modern industrial perspective. And we've shifted our entire approach to parenting, the way that society supports parents and doesn't, the way that children are reared and not reared, and the decisions we make, off 3% of our human existence. And the reality is, babies haven't evolved much in the last 200 to 500 years.
They get born technically prematurely.
Exactly.
In terms
They're
of
completely
compared
immature.
to other mammals, right?
They're completely immature. We're
Like a
carrier
giraffe.
mammals.
Like
A
plops
giraffe
out,
can
starts running.
Start running. It can find its mom and dad. It can avoid danger. It can find water or
It's
shelter.
insane.
If we had to wait for humans to be that level of mature, they'd be about 18 months. Imagine.
But it just means we're very underdeveloped, right?
There's a lot of postulation around this. A lot of research says it's to do with how big our prefrontal cortex is, because our brains are so much bigger in relation to the rest of our bodies. Why we morphed into a more hunter-gatherer style of rearing children, where we had multiple caregivers. Some of the evidence shows that in hunter-gatherer times, and even still there are hunter-gatherer populations around the world, they have anywhere between 8 and 16 caregivers per baby.
Wow.
The average mother would only spend about 25% of the time with her infant. And the rest of the time, you would have taken my baby and the next person, and then you would have shared the load. And so there was never this time in our human existence, a mom on her own was supposed to be carrying the full load of child rearing.
Okay.
Never mind even a dual parenthood with a mom and a dad.
Yes.
We're not supposed to be doing this on our own. It's incredibly overwhelming.
So normalize the struggle
Normalize the struggle.
because of how
we haven't
society,
evolved out of it.
Yeah.
Our nervous system doesn't understand the shift. Our
Yeah.
nervous system still goes back to saying, where is everyone helping me? Like, why am I doing this all on my own?
So true.
Why am I also expected to go back to work soon?
Yeah.
Another problem is society doesn't support moms sufficiently with enough time
Yeah.
off and that kind of thing.
And how do you feel more lonely, literally after you've added another person to the planet?
Exactly. So many women don't talk about the isolation of becoming a mom. Because you do shift and you're a different person. You're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
You've shifted into this new space where everything is unknown. You don't know what you're doing. So you are putting pressure on yourself, and you don't have a village to support you and remind you that actually you're doing fine.
Building the village. How do we do that? How did you do that?
I think I'm still learning, to be honest.
How do you meet people that you then decide, cool, you can be part of my village? Or does it
I think it does happen a little bit organically. From the early days in pregnancy that you really trust.
Yeah.
not feeling like you're pressured into anything, team and all of that. That really matters. You've got to have the right relationships, and then choosing the right doctor for your child. That's all important. But I think, unfortunately, what a lot of people do is that they focus too much on the medical village and putting too much dependency upon their doctors and the nurses and the lactation consultants, which is all amazing to form a part of our village. 500 years ago, it would have been one of the aunties or mothers or grandmothers who taught you how to breastfeed. So yes, get your lactation consultants and do those things. But the reality is, all the medical professionals are going to be there, as you said before, for snippets of time, little moments along the journey, the consistency of the journey. And so the people that need to support you through that consistency of the journey, if you don't have family nearby, you have to find the right people. And I think this can be quite make or break with friendships, because you can have pre-existing friendships that have been amazing and good, and then when you've both joined into a parenting journey, you realize actually how different your decisions are and how differently you view things. It comes back down to your family's values and what are your values. You will find people that have those same and align within those values for you. This is why it's nice for, especially when you have a little baby, to go to these little mums and tots classes and join these meetups and go for pram walks and to meet other moms who are in the same scenario, and then try and figure out who your people are. You can find a group of people that make you more anxious, or more competitive, or are doing things in a way that you wouldn't really do and doesn't feel like it resonates with you.
And then you feel like you need to keep quiet when everybody's agreeing on something in a big group setting. You're like, this doesn't feel right in my bones.
Which, what's that? Your intuition, right? So it comes back down.
Also needing a reason to leave the house.
So you have to do it. You have to force yourself, even if it's cold or whatever. Put your jacket on, get up and arrive. Go there. And also, you always feel better for it.
For sure. And I think you do it once, you do it twice, it goes well. Someone says something nice about your baby and you're feeling like, I need to do this again. And I've actually given advice to friends of mine that felt very anxious to go out after having a child, to pick a coffee shop or something where you feel familiar. You know, people have known you for a while. You just go and you make it a date with yourself, and you don't put pressure on going to a big 20 moms and tots like
doesn't have to be a big thing.
No, you go with your baby somewhere, and then you see if there's any nice interactions.
First 2 weeks they're very quiet and just all sleepy and sad, and then 2 weeks they wake up and they start shouting.
They're in the world.
And then the parents are like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I say to them, start baby wearing, put the baby in a wrap on you or on dad,
and walk.
And go walk around the block. And often by that stage, dads have also gone back to work already. That's your connection time, where he comes back and you reconnect, you go for a walk. It's also really important for mom, because starting to reinitiate those pelvic floor muscles helps with her recovery. Just gentle walking like we're doing now, but it's actually so important, and it's such a silly little thing, but just put the baby on, or in the pram if you've had a season, or go for a walk. And that also just helps you to feel a little bit more confident about actually getting dressed, putting your shoes on and getting out the house.
I can relate to this so much, because I had a NICU baby, first 2 weeks in the NICU, which meant I wasn't going on walks, but we have 2 dogs, and so I'm forced to walk every day twice. And the day he came out of the NICU, we did our first walk, and my husband had him in a carrier. It just felt like I was back at a life that I recognized straight away.
It's amazing that so quickly you were able to find a little bit of a sense of normalcy again.
Exactly. I think remembering who you are, that's another really big, important point, right? There's a physical aspect of that, which is a longer or shorter time of feeling like yourself again.
Exactly. I think that's important, because you do, and again, this westernized culture of we become mothers and now so you're a mom, but that's still only a part of who you are.
Exactly, you're a person.
And I think when we are forced into a scenario, because we have no village, to be mom all day, every day, 24/7, without any reprieve and without any support,
and it takes
you lose
over
sight of who you are.
That's
so
like
you have to have capacity for yourself. And those are the moms that I see coming with postpartum depletion, anxiety, depression, because they just have lost any level of
identity. And it's got replaced with, you're now mom.
Exactly.
Have fun.
Which is great. And if that's what you love, and great that to acknowledge that that identity shift has happened, but it's still only a part of you.
I saw this video. It was Anne Hathaway. She was giving an interview saying, don't hand in your person card the moment you pick up your baby. I was like, what a cool thing, like, to think about. You don't have to delete all other parts of who you are.
I think a little bit more about this because I have a daughter, but I want her to learn that it's okay for her to choose herself. I've got my set times every week that I go gym. It's the same times every week. Like I don't change it because it just fits into the routine that way.
Yeah.
And oftentimes my kids will be like, no, stay in bold. And I'm like, it's 3 o'clock, girl. It's Wednesday.
That's what I gym.
That's when mommy goes to the gym. You know this? Sorry. I love you and I'll build a puzzle as soon as I get back. But this is mommy's time. Is that it's not just about doing everything for them in this moment, but understanding that what you do is modeling what they will do.
And what they find normal.
Yeah.
For sure.
Totally.
What is normal in the city that we live in is people will just exercise every single day.
I know, look at us. We're walking past all these runners and cyclists.
Fit and famous athletes. I love that, honestly.
But it is, I think that is also just culturally maybe normal for us. Also why it's such an important thing to hold on.
But speaking of the fact that this is normal and we're also surrounded by it, and it's much easier to be swept up in that healthy wave of gymming, eating well. How important is the environment that we choose to raise our families in, and how can it make it easier or more difficult how we follow through on what we actually want?
I think that's huge actually, and not just me thinking that from a personal perspective, but there's actually literature on this where they speak about some of the most important factors that you can take into account in order for your child to be a successful adult one day. Where you live, the school they attend, and one of the top features in the study in particular was the parents of their peers.
Oh, wow.
And I found that very interesting. Actually, the influence of their friends' parents is huge on your children. So you have to be quite cognizant of these things when you're choosing schools, because that is going to be your kids' exposure.
Other elders will influence.
We're supposed to absorb advice from our surroundings. There's graphs and stuff on this where they show you the amount of time that you'll be spending with your child over their lifetime.
Yeah.
And in the first 6 years, it's dramatic. It's a lot. And from 6, it tapers dramatically. The reality is, once they start going to big school, they start preferring spending time and hanging out with their friends.
And it just made me think, then even more important what you did in those first, 3-6 years in the core family, and what you've instilled in your kids will help them how they can then navigate and handle and take other input in. And even if they can't academically explain, but if they have a good sense of your family's values, they will be able to navigate.
I almost think of it like you're instilling their values compass, and obviously this is a lifetime of work. It doesn't happen immediately. What you do in those initial phases is so important, but children really do learn much more from what we do than what we say. But what's interesting is that at different ages and stages, kids are in different brainwaves. In our first 3 years of life, the first 36 months is really actually an infant brain. So we tend to expect a lot of 2-year-olds, but actually their brain ability, they can't. From a neurobiology perspective, we talk about an infancy brain until 36 months. From a physical perspective, you're only an infant until 12 months, and then you shift into toddlerhood. But the brain is still very immature at that stage.
Is there truth to that your rational brain only starts developing after 36 months?
We've got 4 brainwave states that our brains can consider: delta, beta, and alpha. And when you and I are like about to fall asleep or in meditation, we're usually in theta.
Okay.
And basically babies begin in that stage where they're pretty much always in the sleepy dream state.
Okay.
Which is why 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds have such beautiful imaginations. They're literally in dream state all the time. And those two sides, theta and delta, are more your subconscious brain. So they are just passively, for those first 3 years, absorbing everything.
Okay.
Absorbing the sensory information, absorbing what mom's saying, absorbing what mom's doing. But I'm not consciously processing it, which is why for the first 3 years, it's all about nurture. You're just putting in the love.
Yeah.
You're making them feel nurtured, making them feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
And they're passively absorbing the rest. After 3, they start shifting gradually. In fact, they only sort of start getting active beta waves usually by school age, which is about 6. So beta is what we're doing right now. We're active, we're alert, we're chatting.
Yeah.
We're focused, we're thinking about what we're talking about, but we're also just kind of carrying on, right?
Yeah.
Our brains are functioning in the background.
Sure.
So alpha and beta are more those stages.
Yeah.
Alpha a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And so kids only really start being able to utilize those brainwaves when they're 6, which is why that's the appropriate time of starting school and being able to sit and learn to read and write and all these things.
process information actively.
And in between, the brain is literally saying, well, I've made so many brain connections. What is actually useful and what do I need to cut back and prune away?
Yeah.
But that can make it quite overwhelming because everything we do, especially in those first 3 years, is passively absorbed. And so you have to be cognizant of that. And it's not to at all sort of put pressure on people. So it's not about not making mistakes at all. They need to see the mistake happened and the repair happened. That's just human life.
Way more helpful for the rest of their lives, of course, than portraying a perfect mom or dad image. I recorded an episode with a friend of mine, Chantal, and what she was saying is one of the biggest tools that she's learned as a mother is to name the feeling to your child, what you're feeling, so that they understand. She's like, Vida, this is the name of her daughter, I'm feeling very frustrated right now. A couple of tools that she shared in the episode was getting on their level rather than towering over your child and telling them how you feel. It's getting down on eye level, explaining how you feel and why this is not a good moment or a good situation, so that they can understand literally or hear it and not think, why does this feel off? Because they can sense that something.
So when your kid's naturally at some point frustrated, because frustration is a part of
Natural.
life, they know, okay, I don't have to be terrified of this feeling because mommy also experiences this sometimes and it's okay.
And I can tell her. I think that's another, like it has a whole chain of consequences,
It's a beautiful practice.
Right?
Such a beautiful practice. I actually always tell parents at 12 months, okay, so they're not a baby anymore, having to make this active shift into toddlerhood. And the job of a toddler is to push boundaries. That they do. That's how they learn. But the job of a parent of a toddler, and these are not my words, I'm stealing this from Dr. Becky, who's a clinical psychologist. The job of a parent of toddler is twofold. The first thing is it's not your job to make them happy.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all, we just all want our kid to be happy, right? But happiness is not it's not a state of being.
Also,
it's
you're
a
not
fluctuating
a
emotion.
Club Med entertainer.
Exactly.
That's not your role.
But it's also unhelpful because nobody is happy all the time. Often it means turning off the negative feeling by distraction, or just quickly switching it off and giving the kid what they want.
Yeah.
And that actually doesn't teach them anything.
No.
It just teaches them that I can be pacified as and when I want. So I always say to them, it's your job actually to just hold space for all feelings.
And not be afraid of them. That's actually so true, right?
Because we all get angry and sad and frustrated and all these sort of negative emotions.
But negative but normal.
Negative, but it's not our job to make them happy.
But
it's our job to hold space.
Look how much there's to talk about, and nobody has a manual, nobody needs to take a test before they enter on this journey. It's harder to get a driver's license than to be pregnant, give birth, and then go on.
And have access to trying to mold this little human being. It's actually wild.
Yeah.
Especially in a world now where most of us don't have the support to guide us on these decisions.
From your professional and personal experience, what are some of the success factors that you can list where you see these are the pillars? What should somebody pay attention to when they're first having a child?
I categorize this into different areas: physical, emotional, and a little bit of spiritual as well. But physical stuff is obviously my career domain. Nutrition is huge. Prenatal nutrition in the mom, whether it's even things like knowing your iron status in your third trimester, stuff like that makes a profound impact on what the health of your child will be. When your baby's born, going through the birthing mode and all of that sort of stuff, you have to try and consider those factors because the way that your child comes into the world and their exposure is huge from those early days. The development of the early microbiome and the immune system is really important.
Okay.
Then I spoke about the first 3 years being about nurture. That is so important because you're literally building your baby's brain. We focus so much in the early days on childhood nutrition and solids and what food, and those are all really important, but we often forget that we're also building a brain. That the way that we psychologically and emotionally interact with our child is building those building blocks of how their psychological system will function and their mental health will be lifelong.
Wow. So what can you do? Someone's listening to this and they're like, I have a 6-month-old baby. What can they do to positively impact or influence that?
They
what you
can
just
wear
mentioned?
their baby Literally, carry your baby, snuggle your baby. You're not building bad habits. You're not spoiling your child.
That's not a thing.
It's not a thing. We cannot spoil a baby. They need to know that they are safe. The most important thing in your world. And that's really important for those first 3 years, because that's how, when we have a healthy level of codependency, that becomes independency later. But they don't become independent by forcing them to be isolated in the first 3 years.
Okay.
They become
Very
dependent.
important.
It's so important.
If anyone remembers
their
one
brains
thing,
have to learn that. They have to learn the consistency of what safety looks like.
Cool.
Before they're able to do it on their own. And our children co-regulate off us for at least the first 7 years. But just understanding that you're not just holding your baby, you're not just, especially when they're very little, you're not just holding them and doing skin to skin and not achieving anything through the day. You're literally building their brain.
That's a very, very important task. Okay,
so that's nurturing the physical and a little bit of the emotional side.
Yeah.
And then having a well mom is really important. So mom's mental health has to be considered. There's no amount of wellness in the child that can be determined in isolation from the mom. It's a dyad. It goes together.
Gotcha.
The maternal-child dyad is so strong. If mom is not well, the baby can't be well, and vice versa. We pour from empty cups all the time because we think, oh, well, the kid needs it, the kid needs it. But the kid actually needs it as well. Back down to not ever making judgment on people's decisions. I recently had a beautiful mom. I know her well because I've seen her through her first child, and she's just now had her second. And had a very difficult postpartum with the first child, lots of postpartum anxiety, depression, really struggled with breastfeeding. And with the second child, she's made the decision that she doesn't want to breastfeed and she wants to exclusively formula feed.
Yeah.
I said, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If this is better for you and for your family, that's absolutely okay.
That will benefit your child because
it's going to
you
benefit your
made
child
the decision.
because you are okay and you're in a space where you're feeling better. I think it's important to give mums the space to make these kinds of decisions. Nobody knows what's better for your family than you.
Yeah.
And this time around, she is feeling confident. She's feeling more secure. She's got more support. She feels more in control of what's going on. And so I think the wellness of mom outweighs just in isolation looking at the baby. You have to look at them together.
Gotcha.
Mom's wellness is as important as the baby's wellness. And I think we are shifting into a world where that's becoming more of a thing.
Can you give us advice on when we need you and when we don't need you?
I always try and teach parents about danger signs. Signs in your baby that something is really going wrong. So either there's a sign of severe infection or difficulty with breathing or dehydration. Those are all things that you have to seek healthcare about. It's important to have a little bit of an understanding of those things because very often parents will confuse yellow and orange flags for red flags. And they think, oh gosh, this is a terrible thing, but actually it's not so bad.
Yeah.
We should probably work on it, but maybe you just need to see a lactation support instead of jumping to the emergency room.
Okay.
Like fevers, for example, it's such a big one. Everybody's so terrified of a fever.
I love a fever.
The only time you have to be terrified of a fever is if your baby's under 3 months old. It's a physiological, an appropriate physiological response to an invader, to a virus or a bacteria. The immune system is doing what it should be doing. I always teach parents, don't fear the fever. There's no number on the thermometer that says you should go to the emergency room. You are focusing when there's a fever on your child's comfort.
What is a red flag? What's an orange flag? Yellow flag? Just keep an eye on.
Yeah,
but don't no need to panic.
Panic, exactly. Unless it's a red flag, you don't need to panic.
Okay, great. What's something that would be such an easy thing to do? It doesn't matter from which category, nutrition, lifestyle, that if parents did more of that, it would have an immediate effect on the family's well-being, the baby's well-being. Does that thing exist?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a magic cure.
I think it's parental anxiety.
Oh, wow.
The less anxious you are as a parent, the better everything will be in your kid. Everything, from the child's immune system to everything. It's not their sugar intake.
It's parental anxiety.
And I am obviously a low sugar mum. But that being said, me getting anxious and my child having some birthday cake is worse than the sugar effect of the child having birthday cake. The anxiety is worse. Because firstly, in myself, anxiety and stress is the biggest risk factor for basically every kind of metabolic disease, cancer, everything that kills us as human beings is all driven by chronic stress.
Okay.
And so if we're stressed out about controlling all these macro things in our kids' lives, we are chronically stressed. We spoke so much about how our children are always regulating off of our nervous system. If we are exuding a nervous system of anxiety and stress all the time, our children are picking up on that. And these kids that have almost this very orthorexic growing up phase where they're never allowed to eat sugar, they're only allowed to eat super healthy, clean foods all the time. They go to school and they become ridiculous, crazy kids who are binge eating on whatever they can get their hands on.
Because they felt restricted.
They've been so restricted.
Oh, wow.
Or they become teenagers with eating disorders because they've been so obsessed with this
health.
Or they've been taught to be obsessed with wellness and health. And the reality is, no, sugar's not good for us, but it's okay for your child to have a little bit of sugar after 24 months.
Yeah.
Not before then. But the stress around it, I think, is more pathological than actually letting them have a little bit. And the same thing
That's so good. Thank you for saying that. Literally.
But I see it every day. More relaxed parents have calm, relaxed, well-regulated children, even when they've had sugar. Same thing with allowing our children to do things. Kids learn on the go. So they need to try dangerous things.
And not be told.
To see the limitations of what they can and can't do. If we're always helicoptering over them and, oh, don't climb there, or hold the monkey bars like this, or if we're doing it for them all the time, they don't learn to be confident. They don't learn to trust in themselves. They learn that, well, I need mom to do everything for me, or I need dad to always be around. They don't actually build a level of confidence. So you're long term, again, we're always thinking the long game actually. Maybe short game, they have some birthday cake and they're hyped for a couple of hours and they're a little bit chaotic, and but long game, what you're teaching them is one day when you have a slice of birthday cake, and that's okay. And then
but that's where
you're
stop.
Good. And that's where you stop.
Okay, that's really solid advice. So parental anxiety down.
Yep. Which is, again, back to the information overload. If reading stuff is making you anxious, stop reading it.
Unfollow accounts.
Unfollow it.
Stop.
If it's creating stress for you, don't look at it. If a person in your life is creating stress for you, pull back. Find somebody who's going to create a sense of safety for you. You need to find those people in your life that reduce the anxiety instead of perpetuating it.
There are mom friends, and there are friends who are also moms. So you need both categories for different things. You meet people maybe on a playground, you weren't friends with them before, but you now become friends by virtue of both being moms.
Commonality.
I've made such good mom friends, and you just realize you get each other naturally.
And then remembering that it is important that the peers of your kids, the parents of the peers of your children, are going to influence their lives. So you want to actually nurture that and figure out these people and say, like, oh, are these people that we actually want our kids to hang out with or not?
And choose wisely, That's very important advice. I've actually never heard that before. I feel about your approach in your practice as a pediatrician, that empowering element of we're in charge of the decision making, lay out lots of options, you're able to explain it in a digestible way, but then ultimately it's up to us what we will do with it, because you're not going to force us into a certain direction or push us. It's up to the parent, and you want to build more confidence.
If you've got the right information, you can listen to that intuitive cue, and everything will be easier.
And look after yourself. Lower parental anxiety.
By whatever means you need to do.
Tools.
Find your people, find your tools, but it's so important.
For yourself and your kid. Thank you so much.
Pleasure,
I've learned a lot.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Beep.
Without big babies.
And they also are benefiting from us feeling so good.
They are, indeed.
Okay, until next time.